Hey there, Pod Pals. Are you a print-on-demand creator looking to stay ahead of the curve? You want to know exactly when to launch your designs for every key season and event? How about a chuckle with an extra dad joke to brighten your day? If you said yes to any of these, then it's time to join the Print on Demand Cast VIP list. As a VIP, you'll get our free annual design calendar, an amazing guide to help you time your creations perfectly throughout the year. And of course, we'll include a bonus dad joke each week as well. Signing up couldn't be easier. Just visit printondemandcast.com/VIP and enter your email. Don't let another day of potential pass you by. Become a part of the VIP list, grab your annual design calendar, and let's dive into a year of inspired creating together. We'll see you on the other side. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Print on Demand Cast. This is the number one show that I'm on. So I've used that joke in the past, but I thought it was funny, so I just did it again. Anyway, as you can probably tell already, Josiah is not with me. This is actually just an intro to a rebroadcast of an episode we did over a year ago, episode 133. And this episode is all about how to sublimate a coffee mug, and as well as a little biddle about Kittle was the original title for the point of interest portion of the show. It's a little long. It's about an hour and 5 minutes plus this intro. But because we couldn't get our schedule synced up and I'm actually going camping this week, we decided to do a rebroadcast. Actually, we are going to be recording a next week's show here soon. So we are going to get a show recorded this week, but not in time to get it out to y'all. So, being that we're giving you a rebroadcast, I thought it would be nice if we did an extra dad joke for you. So I'm going to go ahead and play the bumper, but this is a bonus dad joke for this week.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
All right, well, I have a confession. I think I may have a problem. You see, I absolutely love kitchen utensils. I know it's weird, I know, but I think it's gotten out of hand. I can't believe I'm actually telling you all this, but I have actually stolen some. In fact, my wife and I were at Bed Bath & Beyond the other day, and she swore she'd leave me if I stole another kitchen utensil. But at the same time, it was a risk I was willing to take. All right, well, that's your bonus dad joke. Hope you're not really upset that we're rebroadcasting, but feel free to use the fast forward button and get past all the waffle. I think I talk about my Chiefs in this one because they had just won their Super Bowl. This is actually 2 Super Bowls ago. So episode 133 on how to sublimate a coffee mug. Let's get into it.
Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Print on Demand Cast. We are so excited to have you here with us today for another exciting episode that's a little bit different than what we planned. We'll get into that later. However, you all know that we like to pivot, and we have the ability to do so. So here we are. And Travis, if you can't tell, if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, if you can't tell, he is wearing his Hawaiian shirt that I'm assuming he got in actual Hawaii while he was there for the last, 10 days? So welcome back from paradise. I'm sure you're real happy to be back in blowy, cold Colorado.
Well, your assumption is correct. I did purchase this fantastic garment in Hawaii. I was actually when we got there, I brought a bunch of short sleeve shirts and, button ups and things like that. And last year, I can't remember where, but I think it was anyway, I bought several short sleeve shirts like this. And one of them was just kind of a, why not shirt. It was kind of a crazy I literally have worn it once. It's just one of those really out there shirts. And after I got to Hawaii, I was like really mad that I didn't have it because it had like all of it was kind of Hawaiian-ish, or Hawaiianese. I don't think either one of those is a word. And I didn't really have any Hawaiian shirts. So I was like, I got to get a Hawaiian shirt because when in Hawaii.
Exactly.
So I bought this. We had a great time. We did Oahu for 5 days, and then we went to Maui for 5 days. So the first 5 days was like, we hiked Diamond Head Mountain. We did another hike to a waterfall on the North Shore, Waimea Bay, Waimea Falls, if you've ever been there. Did the Sharks Cove snorkeling up by Waimea Bay. We went to Pearl Harbor, had a really nice 2020 Mustang convertible that we were driving around for a few days that we got on Turo. And so we drove all around the island and saw all kinds of beautiful things. So Oahu was like, go, go, go. We had a lot of things going on. And then Maui, we got to it was more like a resort setting. And so when we got to the actual hotel we were staying, we didn't have a car booked or anything like that. But it was ridiculously beautiful. And if you're in the Facebook group, I posted I shared a photo of one of the first nights we were there from Oahu of a sunset. I should probably post another one of Maui because Maui that place was stunning. I showed you the pictures the other night. It was just a great time. When I got back, I had to say thank you to all the people here at Make Your Mark Design just for holding down the fort and keeping everything going. Because they did a great job. I did, I worked a little bit, but it wasn't more than, a half hour, an hour, once every other day or something like that, just to kind of catch up on email and make sure nothing fell through the cracks. But overall, super fun trip. I was, we were very relaxed and, to your point, very sad and shocked when we got off the airplane. And it was like 11 degrees and I was in shorts and flip-flops. So
you gotta like preemptively plan when you're going from such drastic locations. We fly out to Brazil on March 20th and it's like 90, close to 100 degrees there. And so plan accordingly when going there and then plan accordingly when you come back, because it's not going to be that way when you get back to Colorado. It's going to be very, very cold.
Mine was less poor planning than it was just rebellion.
You're refusing to accept the fact that you're back to life and back to reality.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, man, that's awesome. Yeah, glad you had a good time. Sounds like we hung out on was it Saturday night? We had a poker night, which was a good time, and you showed us some of the pictures there, and it looked incredible. I've never actually been to Hawaii yet in my life, but I definitely want to go because it looks incredible. So
I mean, Oahu's great, but I would highly recommend Maui if you can just kind of go and be at a resort and just hang out. It was so stunning. We did a sunset cruise, saw a bunch of whales, got to swim with turtles, snorkel with beautiful fish. And I mean, the list goes on. There was a luau we did. I mean, oh my gosh, just so much fun. And it was all right there kind of in our resort area. So it was perfect vacation. Yeah,
that's awesome. And those of you that have been listening for the last couple of weeks, you now know that the bulk episodes that we recorded back to back have now come to an end. That's right. Because Travis is updating us on Hawaii and the vacation there. So man, that's super exciting. Good to have you back. Trying to figure out if I remember how to do one of these things, because it's been a while since we've actually recorded something.
And now we have to bulk a whole bunch for when you go on your trip.
I know. We'll try and make it more a little inconspicuous. So you all don't know exactly what's happening, but that's on the books for sure. Man, anything else before we get into the point of interest?
Well, I mean, not to keep this waffle session going any longer than it already has, but I do feel like obligated to officially celebrate the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl victory, because we haven't been able to do that. baby.
Yeah, it happened.
Okay, don't.
Okay.
It was super fun. It was so crazy because literally, if you don't listen all the time, Chiefs, won the Super Bowl on Sunday. We were up at 5:30 the next morning with a flight out to Hawaii at 7 something. So quite the turnaround. But so we didn't really have as much of time to like celebrate and be all excited and like wear our Chiefs gear everywhere. But we saw so many people like in the airports and at the hotels and everything. And every time I couldn't help myself. I just had to, say something and say go Chiefs or something.
That's how you know when you see a lot of the jerseys around. That's how you know that the Chiefs are the new Patriots when the Patriots were, like in the 2000s. That's how you know. In Long Beach, we saw but a lot of the people we met in Long Beach were like from Kansas or something crazy.
Yeah, we did. We met some people from
like probably 2 or 3 people that were just like, I'm Chiefs fans. It was like, holy, well, what the hell? So yeah, it was wild. But yeah, man, congratulations to the Chiefs. Crazy good game. It was close, competitive, which is what you want. I mean, that's really what I hate watching blowouts because then it's just not fun. But it was down to the wire. So it was a really, really good game. So all right, we're gonna go into this week's point of interest. Speaking of football, we're gonna be talking about something called Kittle, but it's not going to be George Kittle. So all you Niners fans can calm down as we go into this week's point of interest.
Point of interest.
All right, Travis, tell us about Kittle. What is it? Where is it? Why is it? Interesting.
Well, Kittle has actually been on the kind of the radar of a lot of print-on-demand sellers for a while now. And as a matter of fact, I feel like there was either in an email or a Facebook post, someone asked us to do kind of a deep dive into Kittle. And frankly, it's pretty user friendly. There's not a lot of deep diving needed, honestly.
Sure. Yeah, it's pretty user intuitive. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's spelled KITTL.com. And we do have a print on demand cast affiliate link. If you do end up, wanting to sign up and check this out, you can go to printondemandcast.com/Kittle or KITTL. And that, gives us a little kickback based on, it doesn't cost you anymore, but you can check that out if you'd like. You can use this forever for free, as a matter of fact. The only downside with the free, and we'll get into the pricing and all that because I've got it pulled up here, is that the actual output that you get or the final product when you download the image, it's not, the dimensions just aren't big enough really for solid print on demand work. So anyway, we'll get into that in a minute, but if you're watching on YouTube or watching on Spotify, you can see my screen here. And these are all of the images that come preloaded with Kittle.
That's crazy.
And as you can see, they are gorgeous. And the cool thing about this is every image you see here is 100% editable, down to the text, the fonts, the back colors, the font colors, just every piece of these designs. And as I scroll here, you can just see it's just so incredible. So as kind of way of demonstrating or deep diving or diving deeper into this thing, I'm going to just go ahead and type in one of my favorite topics, beer, right into this search bar, and we're going to see what it pulls up. You can, obviously use that for whatever. They have a trending section here: skull, coffee, beach, Halloween, vintage, Christmas, retro, Y2K is trending. Wow. Cat, dog, and music. So those are the things that are trending, but I don't care because I typed in beer. So
yes. Yeah, that's not a filter. You can't find vintage beer design. Yeah. It's not filtering. It's not Y2K beer. It's just different categories altogether.
But you've got all kinds of really cool, like this is my lucky drinking shirt.
And St. Patrick's Day. It's coming up.
Yep. St. Patrick's Day's, yep, very soon. So there's all these different cool, obviously a lot of them are St. Patrick's Day focused because that's coming up. And the people at Kittle keep adding designs to this thing. So it's pretty cool. And there's other people that I believe, as a matter of fact, there's one from Detour Shirts. That's our friend Juna. And I believe you can actually upload and then get something from when people utilize your shirt. There's probably a kickback there. I don't know the ins and outs of that. Maybe if one of you guys do, you can post in the Facebook group and say, yeah, I've done it. Here's one of my designs or something like that. That would be really cool. We should reach out to Juna though, and just ask him if that's his design right there, which is pretty cool. Awesome. So anyway, I'm going to dive into this kind of simple one here. And you can see once you decide, you can click use this design and it opens up in another tab. And then it loads all of the editable elements to that project. So as I click on the different things here, you get a nice little box that kind of shows you all of the things you can do with this particular element that I have selected. So you can change the text. And as you can see here, I mean, look at all these beautiful font choices. There's so many and they're so cool. So, so there's just so many different kinds. You can search, you can do serif or sans serif, script. You can choose different things. You can even upload your own fonts if you have something specific that you want to use. You can also do these cool, so if I click into this, I can change this. And I can say, I like, and then I click off and then it goes back to that. I might need to change the font a little bit because it's too small. So I can either change the font size by going like that, which, okay-ish. That'll work for now. But I like day, and I'm going to change this to drinking. Drinking. So I do that. And that's way too big. So I can either do the text thing or I can grab this corner here and just make it smaller, drag it up here. Oh, looks like the G got messed up. So I can make this wider.
Yep.
G appears there. And it's still a little too big. So let's just drag it here. Okay. It's got these got some
guidelines there.
Yeah, those guidelines. Yeah.
Nice.
So probably a little big on that side, but maybe here-ish or so.
And it looks like you can also do so in that sidebar there. There's up above there. There's the center right under the border weight.
Oh yeah. You can center
probably just click
there.
That,
it is.
And then we'll just
do the same thing here.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. And I believe you can select multiple things and center all of them as well. Yep, there it is. Oh, don't want to do that. So the cool thing is. Command Z and or Control Z will work. So I can do that and get back to where it looks good again. Another cool thing I saw, once I select this, you have all these transformations. So you can do like an arc, and you can make this, not as arched or whatever. And I mean, there's so many things you could do with this thing. So again, I'm going to get that back to, nope, I didn't mean to do that there. Take the arch off. And another thing I saw that was kind of cool with this distort feature, if I make this beer part smaller and maybe drag these down here, I can click here, click distort, and then I can grab this corner and pull it down and, kind of make it go with the image.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, it may not be exactly perfect or whatever, but you can then, you could change your text color if you want. You can change your item color. You can put a border on these things. So you can, and you can change the color of the border. So I want a black border maybe on this, mug or whatever. I don't know. That doesn't look good. So I'll Command Z it, get rid of it. Command Z again to get rid of the border. Oh, I guess I just slide the border weight down. There's so many different things you can do. The background, you can do, I think you can export this as a PNG with a transparent background. I'm not sure if you can on the free plan, but let's see, download. I want a PNG and then,
remember to credit Kittle.
Yeah, because I'm on a free plan, one of their stipulations is that I can use it commercially, but I have to give them credit. If you upgrade to another plan, you don't have to give them credit. So like I mentioned, and then again, your max export size is 800 pixels.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
So it's really not going to work on much.
And it looks like the remove background is great out there. So you could probably get a PNG, but it's not going to be transparent.
Yep, there it is again. I have to upgrade to get the PNG. It's kind of like Canva in that way. It's going to look just like this, and it's going to have that background. So really, the free plan isn't going to help me much unless I want that box for some reason. But let's just check out the pricing real quick. So, like I said, it's free. It's free forever, but you can't get PNGs. You can only do 800 pixel size wise. And so it's kind of a low res type thing. You have 50 megabytes of upload space. So in other words, if I want to upload something that maybe I made or my logo or something to insert into a design, I have 50 megabytes to do that with the free plan. It's up to a gig with the pro plan. And I really think this pro plan's a pretty good deal. It's $10 a month if you do it by year. If you decide you just want to try it for a little while, it's $15 a month monthly. And they'll so you can do it a few months and you say, I'm not using it as much, and just cancel it. Or you can just buy the whole thing for $120, have it for a whole year. You can cancel anytime, but you're mandated to or they're not going to refund you. So if you buy a year and you only use it for 6 months,
you're not going to prorate.
They're not going to prorate. You can cancel it anytime. You can buy it and then cancel it immediately. But you'll have that full year to use it, or that full month, depending on how you do it. So we were trying to figure out this whole credit thing per month. And the only thing I can think of is that 20 credits is going to get you 20 images that you have made that you can download. That's my guess, because I couldn't find it anywhere on this site. With the expert, you get 100 credits a month. But with the pro and the expert, you also get vector exports. So they have vector ID things in here that you can download. So obviously with vector, you can make that thing as big as you want, and you'll never have any pixelation, which is really cool. And you get the full commercial license. So no attribution is required on that. So that, my friends, is Kittl. It's very freaking cool. I mean, this is just ridiculous, all of these different projects. You go to beach, we're getting ready to come into the summer. I just got back from Hawaii. Look at this. Tropical sunsets, summer, time to beach. I mean, these are cool looking
those
t-shirt
are awesome
designs as they are.
That Miami Beach one is really, really cool.
This one, it kind of looks like our retro
the vector or the synth wave, whatever that's called.
Yeah, exactly. There's my shirt right there. Aloha. So I mean, you can imagine yourself playing with these things, coming up with different text options that you've figured out from other things. There's Juna again from Detour Shirts. So you can find yourself, playing with these things and coming up with some really, really cool t-shirt designs and coffee mug designs and just all of those things. And it's relatively cheap at, $10 a month. That's really not that expensive. So, that's Kittl.
Yeah. We talk a lot about, quality designs make the difference in what you sell. So if it's $10 a month, if you're getting those kinds of high quality designs and it's something that is that easy to use and that easy to manipulate, and you can, and you can get it with no, attribution, and you get the high res, you're going to make that $10 back. I would imagine pretty quickly.
Pretty soon.
You'll make that $10 a month back, because those are some killer designs that are being used on Kittl. So definitely avail yourself of that. Try it. See what you think. printondomandcast.com/Kittl. That's KITTL. We get a little bit of it's an affiliate, so we'll get a little bit of kickback if you want to support the show. And also just try it out. Like Travis said, try it for a month. And if you hate it, cancel it. If you love it, keep it going. And then go from there. So so shout out to the guys at Kittl and Juna. We should ask him. We should have him come on and kind of explain a deeper dive. What do the credits mean and what are the challenges? But maybe that'll be a a forthcoming episode. So with that being said, we're going to go into this week's main event.
Ladies and gentlemen, the main event.
All right, so it's possible that when you're using Kittle, like Travis alluded to, you might want to put those designs on a coffee mug. So that would require you to sublimate. And you might be saying, if you're new to the show, if you're new to the industry, I know I've seen a lot of Facebook group requests for people who are actually answering the questions, which sidebar, you gotta, or we're just not going to permit you to come in. But I've seen a lot of people that have made requests over the last couple of weeks that are very new in this POD journey, which is awesome. It's super exciting to see that. And so if you are one of those folks and you're listening to the show and you don't know what sublimation is, we want to kind of break down specifically the process of sublimating a coffee mug. It's something that is near and dear to Travis and I's heart because it is where we started in this journey of just sublimating coffee mugs. If you've listened to the show for a long time, you know the story and you know what happened when we went to Portland NBM show and how we branched out into other things. But sublimation is where it started. So we want to talk about how do you sublimate a mug? But before we even go there, Travis, what is sublimation? For the person that's out there like that, that's a cool word to say. What the hell is it? What is sublimation?
Sublimation is actually a scientific term for a liquid going from a solid going directly to a gas with skipping the liquid state. That's technically what sublimation is. When we're talking about coffee mugs, that's kind of what's happening because you print the transfer with a dye, and we'll get into this a little bit more in detail, but you print it with a dye, and the dye actually goes from a solid because it's printed as a dye. And then it goes from a solid to a gas that then enters into the substrate. And substrate is just another word for the item that you are sublimating. So, or printing on, like a t-shirt is a substrate for a DTG printer. You can also sublimate a t-shirt if it's polyester. And that's really the requirement for sublimation, is that you have to have a polyester substrate or polyester coated substrate for those dyes to basically enter into and sublimate into. And then you have this gorgeous, full color, beautiful, very rich color, deep color. It's not going to come off in the washer. It's not going to come off in the microwave because it's been sublimated at a really high temperature that's higher than any dishwasher or microwave is going to get it. If your dishwasher is washing dishes at this temperature, you have bigger problems.
I was just going to say a caveat: any dishwasher should be running when you're washing dishes. But yeah, if you're noticing that it's exponentially hotter when you're doing dishes, maybe call an expert to come and fix that. But yeah, so Travis, to your point, it becomes kind of one with the substrate. It's kind of indistinguishable. It's not, you can't feel where it starts and where it stops. There's no raise, there's no I mean, it's really, really, really easy. Not easy, but that's not the word I was looking for. But it's a very beautiful design. I know we saw some stuff. To your point, it can be polyester coated, like the aluminum or the giant metal wall art that is polyester coated. Like that stuff is incredibly beautiful,
gorgeous.
And we'll get into what it could take to possibly do that. But let's start again with a mug. Now, we talked about it has to be polyester coated. So typically white mugs are kind of where people venture into. You can do black mugs, but there is a little bit of a hurdle or an obstacle when you're wanting to do those, because the way it looks is if you have a coffee mug and the handle is black, and then it will have a white box that kind of is wrapping around the mug where the design will go, which means that you have to then print the black ink to the
Right.
transfer paper itself. So you get varying degrees and shades of black when you try and meld those together. So that's why white mugs are a little bit easier to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of variations on these recipes. And when I say recipe, what I mean is the time and the temperature and the pressure. Those three things can change how black that black is. And so to Josiah's point, if you have this, white area that's going around the coffee mug where the image is supposed to go and everything else is black, because they know that in the end, it's supposed to be a black coffee mug with these, these images on it. You're going to print that all black except for the parts that are supposed to be white. You're not going to print anything in those areas because, again, we're using dyes and you can't dye something white. You start with white, and then any color is going to be pushed onto or pressed onto the coffee mug. But that black area, your goal is to match up the black on the mug versus the black in your ink. And so if you have any different amount of pressure in any part of your clamshell press or your silicone wrap that you're using, it can really it can discolor it and it can look kind of purple, and you can see where that edge is. And I don't know, it's very hard to do accurately 100% of the time. There's just so many things. And if you change your mugs, forget about it. If you change your paper, you change your inks, all of these things, will affect your recipe, So, Josiah, thanks for sharing that, image of the, you're muted, so no one can hear you, but cool story, bro.
Yeah. So what I was saying to myself was the image that if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, I showed kind of the black mug, what it looks like when you get it blank, and then kind of what it can look like with the finished product. And even there on the example, you can see what that line is. Like that black is not the same black that is the mug color.
That's
so
a challenge. Yeah.
To Travis's point, it's a really, really big challenge to do that. So there's a couple different ways as far as printing. How do you do this, right? So I know, Travis, when you first started, you were retrofitting an inkjet printer. Is that correct? Am I remembering that correctly? That it was an inkjet printer you were retrofitting?
Yeah, I just bought some Epson printer for $100 on eBay or something like that, and then I bought a kit, and then the actual sublimation die. So I bought a kit that basically, it had like all of the print or the ink lines, and they were all new, and they all went to, and I basically had to unplug the old ink lines and plug these in, and then put the sublimation dyes, because it's not ink, it's not CMYK ink, it's CMYK dyes. And basically just retro fitted this, $100 printer, so it could print out sublimation prints. Way slower than any of the other options that we're going to talk about. It just was a slower printer. There's probably ones out there that you could retrofit that were faster, but it was also a pain in the butt to, you get clogs in the line sometimes, or air in the lines, or, and it was just it wasn't meant for that. And so,
right.
You'd mess up some mugs every once in a while, but it was a great option to start with because it only cost me $175 for the printer and all the parts and the inks and everything that I needed.
Yeah.
Which is not, the ones we're going to actually recommend that are made for this. They're much more. Well, anywhere from $400 to $1,000 to, if you go with the top of the line, well, not top of the line, but top of the line kind of desktop, you're paying $2,500 to $3,000 for that one. So a lot of options for sure.
Yeah. So we've got a couple options here. You've heard us talk about this before. This company, Sawgrass, is kind of, I know a lot of people that use it. That's what we use. That's what Travis uses. But Sawgrass SG400 or 500 Travis, what's the difference between the 4 and the 500 model?
It's just the 500 is just their upgraded 400. So sometimes you'll find a 400 on eBay. It's the same as the 500.
It's just
500 has a little bit. It's their next gen, I guess.
Yeah,
Same with the 800 and the 1000.
The 1000, yeah. So you've got the SG 800 and the SG 1000. Now those, the difference between the 800, 400, whatever, that is size of the printable area. Correct.
Yeah. And you can also get a feeder that allows you to go up to even a larger print area with the 1000 that you can't fit on the 500. So the 500 and the 1000 are the ones that are current generations that you can buy, at all the usual suspects that sell sawgrass anyway.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can see that you can find these things on eBay or Amazon even, and they're the older gen. And as long as they've been, these things are tanks, by the way. I have had the same SG 400 here in this building. And I don't know how long I've had it. It's been 2.5 years, and we've printed tens of thousands of coffee mugs images on that. And it does its own maintenance cycle. You have to do a couple things with the rollers every once in a while, maybe once a month, once every couple months. Aside from that, they keep their own print heads clean. I've never had a clog. The downside I will say about the sawgrass is the ink cost is higher because they're cartridge based ink, and it's not a bulk replace system. And so the actual ink cost, that's where they get you. That's where every printer company gets you is on the ink. And sawgrass is no different. So they, it might cost you 10 cents to print, worth of ink to print, a coffee mug. If it's black, it's going to cost you even more than that because you've got to print all that black stuff.
Right.
But as you get into bigger things and you start doing flat press stuff like on shirts or baby onesies, polyester onesies and things like that, and you're making bigger images, it can start to add up. I've never really worried about it again because it's a coffee mug and there's so I mean, we're just doing white coffee mugs, and we do two-sided, costs less than 10 cents a pop. I'm like, I can absorb that into my costs, and it's very easy. There's a couple other options too out there.
So there's the Epson F170. It's similar to the SG 500, but not a bulk ink system.
Or it is a bulk ink, rather. Yeah.
Oh, it is a bulk ink, right?
Yes.
It is a bulk ink system. So that's the difference between those two. And
so much cheaper ink costs.
Yeah. And then Epson F3070, which is up to 24 inches wide with a roller. So those kind of large format ones, we alluded to the metal wall art earlier. Those are the kinds of printers you would need to run in order to have something that was going to be sizable for large format.
Yeah, so we actually have an F3070 here, and we use it for our wall art. We also do these boat flags for a customer, and we have the ability to go 24 wide, and because we can put it on a roller, it can go infinitely long.
Yeah,
you just can't go beyond what you have the ability to press.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
But even that said, we did some mats, like outdoor. Like mats that you wipe your feet on before you come in. Welcome mats. Yes, thank you. Yep. We did a whole bunch of those for my wife. She was doing a fundraiser for.
I remember those.
Yeah, I think it was for the Marshall fires.
Yes.
We were raising money for Marshall Fire. Yep. Yeah, terrible fire in our area that happened on New Year's Eve,
2021.
2021. And we were raising money for that, and so we did some of these, and we were able to print the whole thing. And then as we sublimated it, we just had to really be careful as we moved it to the side and then sublimated again.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So there's many printers that are much larger that do sublimation.
You go to some of the trade shows. You see them just operating. They're just spooling out these sublimation prints on the floor as you're walking by. It's just constantly running. So again, just to recap, that's the Sawgrass SG 400 or 500, SG 1000, F170, F370, not 3070. That is an Epson printer, but that is not going to do sublimation for you, and it's way more expensive. It's the F370. So
Right.
it's lots of letters in all of these names, which, by the way, so side note, my nephew and my cousin were here this last week, and they were at the poker game with us. And, my nephew was, we're talking about, just sitting in the living room catching up, and he was like, hey, what's the 9th letter of the alphabet? And I was like, thinking about it, and it was a complete guess, but I was right. There you go. It's a thinker. It'll sneak up on you later, but that was this week's weekly dad joke for you guys. Oh man, I couldn't figure out where to fit it in, and then all these letters just came up. So anyway, going back to the printers, I guess a question that someone might have, Travis, is you're talking about this F370 that's 24 inches wide, and you're saying there's things that can print much larger. Maybe one of the questions is like, why would I ever need anything bigger than what these things can do? 24 inches wide, I might need something bigger. Why would I ever need that?
Yeah. And I mean, that's a great question. And if you're just going to do mugs your entire, that's as far as you want to go, you probably don't.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's all kinds of things you could sublimate. You can sublimate socks. You can sublimate shirts. You can sublimate, underwear. You can like arm sleeves for like those basketball players, they have those cool arm sleeves, full color arm sleeves that are just gorgeous. And so there's so many of these different projects that you can do. And if you get to a place where you're, actually selling a lot of these things, a lot of these larger printers will have a cutter, and you can, and we're going to get to like what kind of paper you use and all that stuff. But as a matter of fact, our 3070 has a cutter. So when it's done, it'll cut off whatever. And so we can.
You keep saying 3070 when you talk about that.
Oh, you're right. It's the Epson 370.
It's their fault. They made it too close together.
That's right. It's the F370 as opposed to the color F3070.
Yes.
Is it the F370? I can't remember. Maybe it's an S3. I think it's the F3070. 370, and they messed me up really bad, and I'm still messed up.
It is the color F3070. You are correct.
Point being, with the 370 sublimation printer, it has a cutter, and so as it's printing, what you can do is like in a RIP software, you can print off, even lengthwise or this way or however you want. If you're doing like socks or whatever, you can do several of them that are all the same size, and then cut at the bottom, and then do another batch and cut at the bottom. And it's all done by your RIP software that you basically lay out, all of these designs, you throw them in there, and it just goes, and then it populates them. You hit print, and then it's cutting them. And then at the end, you have a sheet of, 4 or 5, depending on how wide your printer is, you just go through and you just cut once, and you have all of your transfers for that batch of orders. So depending on your scale, it really can benefit you to have a larger sublimation printer as you grow.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned talking about the paper that you need to do these. I think one of the things we used was, that you guys used to, the mug sheets that you just kind of wrap around the mug. If
pre-cut,
you're doing one side or two sided, pre-cut, print on one side, two side, whatever you want to do. And then you're using, what is the default that comes with Sawgrass? I forget what it's called to load up the designs.
Oh, are you talking about the? Yes.
I forget what it's called now, because I know you guys use Photoshop.
Well, no, we can use Photoshop. We actually use it's a RIP software called QImage, but it's Virtuoso Print Manager.
Yeah.
And that's so Sawgrass
come with it.
Yeah, comes with Virtuoso Print Manager, which is a RIP. So our QImage is our third-party RIP that we actually can build all of the print files very quickly and go blah, blah, blah. I like that sound. Blah, blah, blah. And then from there, it actually prints to the Virtuoso print manager, which then prints it to. It's kind of convoluted.
Sure,
but that's
sure.
how it works. Same with Photoshop. Photoshop will print to the Virtuoso print manager and then print to the Sawgrass. So that's Sawgrass is kind of. I don't really like the way they did that, honestly. They didn't need to do that. Like, you can pretty much run any RIP software with Epson, and you can bypass their, their out of the box RIP, but not with Sawgrass. You cannot. So we had to kind of figure all that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those single sheets, you got the single sheets. You get a little bit bigger for the 15s. You can get them big enough to where they cover the whole entire mug from top to bottom, and you can get edge to edge printing on these things. Obviously it has to stop somewhere because of that handle, but so you have a lot of options with pre-cut stuff. And again, you're going to pay a little more for them to cut it, but you don't have to cut it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's nice for, when you have a lot of orders, you just have these, if they're all mugs, you can print them. And to your point, you were saying you can print on both sides. What you mean by that is you can print one right here and then one next to it. So when you
the
wrap
left side, the
the
right,
mug,
yeah,
it's on both sides.
Right,
You're not printing on both sides of the
mug.
paper. Yeah,
correct.
exactly.
Yep, correct. Yeah, totally. And then we've got mug sheets as well. You got the single sheets, you've got mug sheets, and then like we talked about the larger format ones, you've got the roller with the cutting. But again, to Travis's point earlier, I use the RIP software to lay out those images and kind of tell it where to cut, so that you can get that all worked out on the front end before you actually press print and run it to the printer. So
the cool thing about the Sawgrass, I'm not sure if the Epson has this, the F170, but the Sawgrass has like guides on the tray, like the feeder tray, so you can put.
When you're
you can put that mug, that pre-cut stuff. You can choose how wide it is. It doesn't matter how wide it is because the guides will allow you to print it straight. And so what that allows you to do is, use different size papers for different size jobs. And so if you're doing, like a baby onesie or something, or a sign or something like that, and you want to print it wider, you can go wider. If you have an SG 1000, you can go really wide. And if you have so either of those Sawgrasses allow you to do that. On the Epsons, like on our 3070, we can't use mug paper. It doesn't have the ability to get that thin. I said it again, didn't I?
You did. Yeah.
The F370.
People are going to be like, that guy's doing what with his 3070?
Damn you, Epson.
Oh, that's funny.
What were you thinking?
That's really funny. So you've got a couple different methods of when it comes to actually cooking the mugs, which is to say actually sublimating the design to the mug. You can do a couple different things. You can do clamshell presses. They've got ones that are just singles. They got doubles. They've got 3, 4, they've got a lot that you can, do all at one time, which is an option. I know that's what you guys use over there, Make Your Mark Design as well. And then you can also use convection ovens, which we use at What For Apparel. Get them at like Costco or Walmart. It's got to be convection. You got to make sure that the air is moving through.
Right.
But that allowed us to do 6 mugs at a time. Throw it in there, leave it for a certain time, pull them out, and then you've got a mug that's cooked. Each one will, to Travis's point, to the whole recipe thing, it's going to look a little bit different, or it's going to take some dialing in. So when you're using a press, it's going to take some dialing in for the right pressure and the right time. We say it's a recipe because it is. I've always likened it to cooking, because sometimes you just got to mess with that recipe to make sure that it comes out just the way you want it, and salt the taste or whatever. So there's a lot of tweaking that happens in these kind of processes to make sure that it's what you're looking for, that it's coming out to your specifications or what your expectations are. So it could take some work. One note is that if you're using an oven, what you'll have to have is a mug wrap. So you basically tape the mug, or tape the mug paper to the mug itself with some sublimation tape, and then you'll get it's a silicone wrap with like the metal ends. There's a hook, and then there's the thing that it hooks into, and you wrap it in there and just secure it to go into the mug, and that applies the pressure that is missing when you have a press. When you have a clamshell press, you don't need that because there's being pressure put on it. When you're putting it in the oven, you have to have something that's putting pressure on that paper so that it does, sublimate successfully.
Yeah, it avoids what they call dye migration because there's not enough pressure. And you can see this with like older clamshell presses that haven't had the heat element changed out. It's old. They'll get like divots in them or whatever. And so where those divots are, you can have what's called dye migration. And what happens is when you pull off the sheet or the paper and you look at the mug, they'll have like a little blurry spot or something. And that just means that the dye migrated. It kind of went out because it didn't have the pressure to push it directly into that substrate. There's lots of ways to screw this up.
There's a lot. There's lots of ways. It can be a little infuriating, actually.
Yes,
in fact. So when it comes to cooling them, you obviously have to cool the mug down before you can touch it, whether it's coming out of the press or the oven, because it's very hot, as we alluded to earlier. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can let it kind of sit out and air dry. You can have, I know, Travis, you guys used to have that giant kind of like convection tunnel where what convection might not be the right word, but it basically would cool them down after it cooked them so that you can kind of let it air dry. So there's that option. Or you can, baptize the mugs. You probably not Catholic style baptism because it would take a while if you're just sprinkling. But if you do full submersion, then you're going to get faster results. That's what, for apparel, we would just kind of put them in a cooler of water and then pull them out and unwrap it, and kind of makes everything a lot easier when you can touch them. To that point, though, if you're using an oven, you are going to want kind of some heat resistant hand wear protection. Because
very important.
It's not fun when you burn yourself with these things. It sucks. But those are the two, different ways that you can kind of cool the mug down before you go into the packaging stage of things.
Yeah, and if you're using a convection oven like one of the ones that you guys had or we had, you're doing like 4 to 6 mugs at a time, and so you're actually
it's on a metal tray.
You're pulling out the entire rack and you're setting it off to the side. So you absolutely need.
And you have to undo the wrap. So you have to have something.
Yeah. We used to literally have an area just on one of the tables when we were at our shop in Longmont before we got the tunnel dryer or the tunnel, cooker. Yeah. And we would just take those wraps out. We had three going at the same time, and they take a lot longer. They were taking about 12 minutes, 11 and a half to 12 minutes to fully sublimate in those ovens. And then we would have kind of just an area on a table that over time you could see where that metal had like kind of melted the table a little bit underneath it. But they would just sit there and we'd know by the time the next one's coming out, like 6 minutes or so, we can, and they all have 2 trays. So you could have one preloaded and pull one out and put one back in. And, but we had kind of a method for that, but you had to wait at least 6 minutes before you wanted to touch any of that stuff. And it was still kind of hot after that. If you're not going to throw them in water, you really just need to leave them alone for a while. Put a fan on them, maybe. Because
again, it sucks when that happens.
They're hot.
So next would be packaging. There's lots of options when it comes to packaging. It just kind of depends on what you're wanting to spend, because there's different price points, what you're willing to build into your price, what's going to protect it the best, and also is budget friendly. Like there's lots of things to consider here. But you can get like a 5x5x5 gift box with the medium bubble wrap, or a 6x6x7 corrugated with a medium bubble wrap, or they have those styrofoam shippers, kind of like the giant clamshells. You can and those of course are a little bit more expensive, but there's lots. Basically what we did is found a solution that worked for us, and then we did some drop testing, with some botched mugs, which by the way, you are going to have some mugs that just don't turn out well. So, we use those for drop testing, where we just kind of drop them from different heights, and it's going to protect the mug, and just trying to do some testing to know that, the solution we have is, like I said, both budget friendly and will actually deliver an intact mug through the chaos of USPS shipping. or UPS shipping for that matter. So yeah, lots of different options when it comes to your packaging.
Yeah, we've done pretty much every single thing you said. So the cool thing about the gift boxes was that they were white and they look good. But when we started doing 15s, we were like, oh, this really, sometimes they'd bulge up a little bit. And I don't know, they didn't look as good.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't that pretty.
But and they were much more expensive than the 6x6x7 that we were started to use. But the bad thing about the 6x6x7 is that it comes flat. That box comes flat, and you got to build it. You got to build both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the 5x5x5 did too, but you just use a lot more tape, that way. And so eventually, we did all the math and ran time trials and everything, and just came to the point where we were like, even though the styrofoam shippers are a little more, we were able to buy them in such a bulk quantity that we were able to get good prices on the shipping and all of that stuff to bring it to where when you look at the fact that I can package and label 3 styrofoam shippers in the same time it took me to do one 6x6x7. That time savings really actually made those shippers pretty much the exact same price, and we were 3 times as fast. So it made a lot of sense to move that way, especially in Q4. And we're going to use those until our supplier runs out of them, and then we might have to switch back. I don't know. I hope not. They're giving us a really good price on them, and I hope they can continue to do that. But you've got to find. I've heard of other people that have tried to ship these things in 4x4x4, like an 11 ounce, with little to no, like wrap them in paper type thing.
Oh my gosh!
And that's just a recipe for destruction.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
Literally. Yeah. It's just not big. There's just not enough room to protect it with bubble. In that. So consider, to Josiah's point, doing several drop tests before you land on one particular way that you're gonna ship these things, because USPS does unthinkable things with our products. Unthinkable.
For sure. To your point about building the boxes, there was multiple days where Jason and I would challenge another person in the shop, be like, okay, box building contest. Here's a stack of 20. Here's my stack of 20. Whoever, whatever we decided to put on as the incentive, but we would just sit there and just crush boxes and build them super quickly. You have to kind of gauge, what you're willing to trade off would be, because the next thing we want to talk about as we kind of wrap this up is returns and broken mugs. Because the reality is, of course, you're going to get some returns. That's a given, right? Some people might not like it, or it might not look the way they thought it would look, or what have you. You're going to get returns. It's going to happen. But the other thing you're going to have, regardless of what you do for your packaging option, is there's going to be a certain percentage of them that break. Because of what the shipping is and how they handle. Have you ever seen, people that handle your luggage going into an airplane, the luggage cargo of an airplane? That's, not any better than what USPS does with your mugs or the things you're shipping to customers.
Even if you put a fragile sticker on it,
it doesn't matter.
Don't fool yourself. That does not matter to them.
You could custom print a box that's red with fragile, just fully wrapped in every area, and it will not matter. It does not matter to them. So, but we have to decide is how can you mitigate that percentage by the right packaging? And sometimes it might be a little bit more expensive than what you're initially wanting to spend on how you package and ship, but understanding that on the back end, you could be saving yourself not only, returns for broken mugs, but also we've talked about the power of reviews. We've talked about how word of mouth for your shop, whether it's your Amazon store, your Etsy shop, if people are leaving comments, and it's, a lot of them are, what happened? Why
Sorry,
did you say that?
I don't know. You like froze for 2 seconds, and then you came back. And
am I back?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Like all of the packets delivered at the same time, so you started talking really fast, and then it slowed back down, and you're fine now. Okay, we're good.
Okay. No, I was just talking about the power of reviews and word of mouth and the reputation of your shop. That if there's a bunch of reviews all coming in at once about how your people are getting broken mug after broken mug after broken mug, you're going to cost yourself a lot more money than the 10 cents, 20 cents that it was to maybe invest in some more packaging that would better insulate and protect. So again, it's a delicate dance and balance. And the odds are, much like, they say freshmen going into college will change their major X amount of times before they graduate. Whatever solution you go with when it's your freshman year in the POD industry, you'll change that solution before too long. You just have to be willing to kind of be malleable and pivot. So
yeah.
Anything else, Travis?
I was just going to say, we literally made a decision today to, after some testing, to switch pre-treat. And because there's a new one out on the market, and we're able to cut it with do a 50-50 on this particular one, and it's the same price. So we're literally cutting our price in half by doing that. But that's the whole idea, is like you keep just changing over time. You're developing, you're evolving, I guess, even as a business, and new products come out, like these shippers were completely out of my price range when I first started. And so now they aren't, I mean, and so we had to reestablish, we had to do all the math and figure all that out. And so you're constantly doing that in business, to your point. So where you start is not where you will end.
Yeah,
for sure.
You have to be willing to adapt to whatever comes your way. So that's what it is. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And we are happy to be back with the recording and getting back in that rhythm, at least until I leave to South America.
This was supposed to be an interview, actually. You said you'd get back to that, but you never did.
I know. It was supposed to be an interview, but the guest that we had lined out, he kind of went unresponsive. He kind of ghosted. I still don't know if he's responded or filled out the sheet that we had for him to fill out, but
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, he was responsive this afternoon, and then about half an hour, 20 minutes to go, he kind of just disappeared. So it got to a point where we decided just to not to just beat this sound, but it was one of those things where I was like, I think on principle, we're just gonna maybe reschedule him because it's been a minute since he's responded. so this is what we had to do, and we had to adapt to what was going on. So but yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. We are hoping to have that guest on in the future if he's able to reschedule, for sure. So all right, so here's how I enter into the diatribe of information.
Attention hotline fans.
All right. So if you guys want to join the conversation, join the family, join the fun, there's one place you can do that we always tell you guys about, because we're trying to grow that community a lot, is printondemandcast.com/Facebook. That takes you to the group. I mentioned earlier, you have to answer the questions. If you don't answer the questions, there's no guarantee that we'll actually let you into the group. We just need to know that you are who you say you are, and you're not just trying to collect Facebook groups like arrows in an archer's quiver. Okay, we just need to know that you're legit. So with that being said, printondemandcast.com/Facebook is where you can go to do that. Lots of activity happening, lots of questions. It's awesome to see the engagement between fellow members, not even just Travis and myself, but fellow members within the group, answering questions for one another. If you are Instagram, have an inclination to use Instagram more than Facebook, we're there too, printondemandcast.com/Instagram as well. As we start, if we go to more trade shows or more in the moment content, if we're recording in person, a lot of like in the moment happening content will be there in story form, real form. So go check that out as well. And then printondemandcast.com/YouTube is also where you can go to catch these videos. It's basically serving as a sort of an archive of past episodes in video form. So that's where you can find that. And then the other thing that you guys can do that we've talked about is go to printondemandcast.com and just sign up for the newsletter. We won't spam you. We won't annoy you. We will give you educational and entertaining information, just like we do here in the podcast, and a bonus dad joke will come to you when you subscribe to the newsletter. So please avail yourself of that, as well. As you've heard Travis and I allude to over the last couple of weeks, we're trying to really grow this and see what this brand, this business, this show, I don't know what you guys want to call it, what it could become as we try and grow the community around us. So I'm super excited and thankful for you to do that. Again, printondemancast.com, sign up for the newsletter. If you're listening to this on iTunes, on Spotify, Stitcher, Google, wherever there are podcasts, the PODcast is there for you. Thank you for pushing play. Do us a favor, leave a review, and let us know what you think of the show. Share this show out, text it to your friend, post it on Facebook. If there's people that are in the industry that are beginning, just starting out, and you know someone that needs this information, share it directly with them. It is greatly appreciated. Your guys' word of mouth, your guys' influence is one thing that will grow this show quicker than anything. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to do that. Travis, anything else before we wrap this up?
I was just looking up our Google or our Apple ratings just to see. It looks like we got 35 ratings. Somebody gave us a 1 star. I think we should come after them. I don't know who they are, but I don't know who you are. But I have a particular set of skills.
I'm going to find how to delete it. And I'm going to remove it.
But no, I have nothing else that's actually going to further the information shared on this podcast.
Okay, well, go counteract that one person's 1-star review and leave us, 4 or 5 stars would be awesome. But thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand Cast. For Travis, I'm Josiah, and we'll see you then.
See ya.
It's been so long you forgot your line.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you've got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.
In a world where businesses everywhere are trying to make print-on-demand sales, one podcast goes above and beyond every week to bring the most POD-specific information there is, all to help save the day, every day. Don't succumb to the enemies of your print-on-demand business. Sign up today for the Print on Demand Cast VIP email at printondemandcast.com/VIP. This time, it's for real.